Hi, I'm here with my mom who was alive during 9/11 and she has a story to tell.
Hi, I'm Max's mom.
So, how old were you on September 11th and how did that affect you in any way? Or not really?
I was not as old as I am now. So you're 14. That would have made me 33. 33. What was the
Okay.
second part of the question?
Where are you from?
Michigan.
And what is your full name?
Do you need to know that? Lori Hazen. Middle name Denise.
Thank you, Lori Hazen.
You're welcome.
The first couple of questions are about before 9/11 happened. And the first one is, what do you recall about life before 9/11?
What I recall most of all is there was no such thing as a lockdown. I'm a teacher, and it's strange that that's a common practice in schools. So there was no such thing as a lockdown. People weren't fearful of being attacked, I think, by anyone. So that was a foreign concept.
Was there any fear from you or really anybody about terrorists attacking America?
Not really. All I can think of is maybe people who were alive during the attack on Pearl Harbor. That was the last time, I think the only other time our country was attacked. So my answer would be no.
How did you find out about the attacks and what were you doing at the time? And what were you like at your job or at home?
I remember very clearly where I was. I was pregnant with you. I was teaching, and it was a time when we didn't really have, we had cell phones, but it's not like you had your cell phone on you all the time. So I remember Dad called me in my classroom, and it took me a long time to even comprehend what he was saying. And that's how I found out from Dad on the phone.
How did you feel when you first heard about the attacks, and did you share with others, or did they already know, or did they inform you?
My biggest thought or memory was total disbelief. I mean, later I think it was fear, but complete disbelief. And I didn't really share it with anyone because I was in the middle of teaching 9-year-olds, and then slowly other teachers started talking or peeking their head out in the hall, and then we realized that what I had heard and what we had heard was really what had happened.
What was your most vivid memory during that day, and if you can recall, can you please explain it?
I have two. Am I allowed to have two? I have two vivid memories. The one was, I remember right before I knew that what had happened, I remember saying to someone, it was such a beautiful day that day, at least in Michigan, really sunny, and I remember saying, isn't this a perfect day? And then I found out 10 minutes later what had happened. So I think about how ironic that was. And then I'll never forget the drive home because everyone had the same look on their face. And, no one looked like they were singing along to the radio, or no one had a smile on their face. It was like everyone had this serious look and they just wanted to get home. There were no one stopped at the store on the way home. It was weird, very weird, surreal.
Were you scared that anything else was going to happen, and were you fearful for your family and friends?
I guess I'd have to say yes, because everything was unfolding, like minute by minute. So I think along with everyone else in the country, I was watching the television just waiting to see what was going to be said next. So fearful, yes, because you had no idea if something was going to happen, when it was going to happen, where it would happen. I remember there was no sound outside except for military jets flying over, and it was like a constant reminder that, it was definitely a fearful situation.
All right, what do you remember about what members of Congress, the president, really just anybody important in the government, what do you remember them saying?
I remember prior to 9/11, the country was pretty divided, and not a lot of people like George W. Bush. But after 9/11, it was, not maybe as divided. People seemed to come together.
What did you think of the government's reaction to the attacks, and did you agree with them? What were some things you didn't really like?
Well, that's
agree
hard.
with?
It's hard to answer because their reaction was unfolding as the events were unfolding, and they kept learning new information. So I don't really have a specific opinion. I guess they handled things as best they could, with the information they had.
Did you agree with everything they said? When
Well,
they
like I
went to
just
war?
said, I don't know. I don't know if I agreed with going to war, but if I had the same information that I think they had, maybe I would have chosen that, or I don't know. I'm not sure.
It was probably confusing for really everybody as it kept unfolding. Alright, how has 9/11 changed you?
Is that the question? That's a very, very vague question.
Alright,
Okay, how has it changed me?
Okay.
I
how has it changed your
think
thinking of like
it changes my
the-
thinking
our
in.
nation?
Okay. Well, it's a constant thought in the back of your head that you don't know what's going to happen. And I remember prior to this, that was never a thought for me. I don't think for my parents either. Probably not even for my grandparents. But it's a constant theme, constant. And for you, Max, and anyone born after you, that's all you've ever known. So I think it's hard I think it's just strange that kids that were born from 9/11 on, that's all they know is this constant reminder, maybe, that something bad could happen with regard to terrorism.
What do you want students to know about that day, and like how is it different from like us learning it today and then you actually experiencing it the day of?
I guess what I want students to know, I remember that day thinking that I hope people never forget this and forget how absolutely horrid it was.